Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Hoyt, CEO of Ascending Harvest, with my best buddy, business partner, resident inventor genius, Shane McKenna, bringing you a little update on Ascending Harvest and the project we have to end world hunger, and specifically through our crowdfunding campaign. And pardon me, we had a little background noise there. And today we're going to talk about something really interesting, a concept that's called nutrient adequacy that we're going to define a little bit later on in the podcast here, or the Zoomcast as I like to call them, and talk to you about how Ascending Harvest can really help resolve this problem, the problem of nutrient inadequacy in developing countries and refugee camps, here in just a minute. But before we do that, I'm going to invite Shane to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Happy Hump Day. It's a beautiful day here in Utah. I mean, we are having this extraordinarily beautiful fall weather that is one of the reasons why I enjoy fall so much, where we have these mid to low 60s temperatures, sunshine, and just absolutely gorgeous days to get out and about and stretch your legs a little bit in the park or whatever you like to do outdoors. It's a perfect time to do it, so hope you're taking advantage of it.
You know, and I lived in Denver for a long time. We had, I think, very close to the same weather that Salt Lake City has. You know, beautiful, high, dry, humid weather that, you know, it could snow 6 inches in the morning and be all gone by the afternoon. It was fantastic. But I have to say, I really love California. Almost froze to death the other night. It got down to 50 degrees. But don't worry about me. I'm going to be okay. Our crowdfunding project is moving along. It's been going slowly the last 3 or 4 days. So if you have a mind to pitch in $1 or $5 or $10, we would love for you to do it today to get this thing moving. Shane and I were talking a little bit this morning about the urgency behind developing this product and getting it to market. You know, we really do want to have this in place by the next growing season in these developing countries, in Ghana, in Uganda, in other areas in the African region, because their growing season starts in like February or March, and we think it's going to take us 5 to 6 months to get this thing, you know, completed its design for manufacturing and get it into manufacturing and be able to deliver these systems to the people who need them. And we don't want to miss this next growing season, so we need your participation, we need your cooperation, your dollars right now today. If you have a mind to give $1, $5, $10, or $1,000 to Ascending Harvest, please go to our webpage at ascendingharvest.com, click on the green button, go to our Indiegogo campaign, take a look around, listen to the videos, take a look at the visual graphics that we've put there, and then chip in $1. I know that we would appreciate it, and I'm certain that all of the recipients of these systems over the years would appreciate it too. Come join our team. We would love to have you.
I'd just like to clarify something, Paul. Our design for manufacturing is complete. But it takes time to take your design to manufacturing to the manufacturers, go through the mold building process, go through the first article approval processes, go through your initial order processes, and all those things take time. It typically takes 6 to 9 months to get a product on the shelf once you have the design complete. And that is just a logistics and communication back and forth because there's so many details. Luckily, in our situation, we're going to fall on the short end of that and actually be able to expedite that somewhat because we are using off-the-shelf components for the most part, and the few manufactured components we have, I'm actually going to be working with a local vendor so that we get through those processes of our initial injection molded parts very quickly. So, but even still, it is a long process. There's a lot of details to consider, and we need this time. We need the funding now to be able to hit this next growing season. Absolutely.
Awesome. And you've done this before, haven't you, Shane?
Yeah, a couple of times. I have been a key influencer on putting over 100 products on the shelf.
Wow.
So I've done this many, many times in a lot of different capacities. And several times I've gone all the way through the entire process because they're my own products that I'm putting on the shelf, or I'm the exclusive product development individual for my client to put these products on the shelf. So it's not my first rodeo. We are in good hands for getting our product up and developed and on the shelf, but even still, it is a very daunting process to put a new product on, which is why they have people who are professional product developers like myself, who many like myself have an engineering background or design background or project management background, because it is such a daunting task.
Cool. Well, so all we need is a little bit of funds to pull the trigger and make this thing happen by the next growing season. So I'd encourage you to go out there and make a contribution today so we can make this happen. Today we're going to talk about an interesting concept. One of our team members, Abraham Tinklepaw, who works with us doing research and public relations and copywriting and a variety of different things, found this really nice article that was created by some PhDs at Tufts University and some universities in Ghana, I believe it is, taking a look at the concept of nutrient adequacy. So I'm going to attempt to kind of define that, and I'm going to invite Shane to help clarify that a little bit. So it's one thing to get the calories that you need every day, but it's another thing to get the right balance of calories across different nutritional groups. The right amount of protein, the right minerals, the right vitamins, the right energy for your system to work appropriately. If you just have 2,000, 3,000 calories of cornmeal mush, it's not going to do the job. You need to supplant that with fruits and vegetables and other things that give your diet a little bit of variety that allows your diet to be nutritionally adequate. Did I get that right, Shane?
Yeah, your body requires all these different nutrients, and you need a full spectrum of nutrients for your body to perform. And the more nutrients that are not on your list, not only the more susceptible you are to illness and disease, but also the less capable you are of physically, mentally, and emotionally functioning.
I remember reading in this article that over 1/3 of all the childhood deaths in these regions are due to malnutrition. And that malnutrition has to do with a lack of nutrient adequacy.
Right.
So there's a lot that we can do to not just end hunger, but also to really dramatically improve the overall health and the happiness of entire societies, entire communities and tribes and countries in Africa. So the challenge of delivering nutrient adequacy is that we can take a 50-pound bag of cornmeal and ship it from the United States to Ghana and have it arrive and be in pretty good shape. You can still grind it up and make some food out of it. But the same is not true with oranges and fruits and tomatoes and other vegetables, because they don't survive the distribution process to Africa, and it's too expensive to send them there. So we can only send them distribution-friendly foods, even if we want to feed them. And we believe the key, by the way, to solving this problem of nutrient adequacy is, of course, Ascending Harvest and our human-powered hydroponic gardens that empower the people, the families who are actually in Africa, to grow the food that they need that's essential for their particular diets.
Yeah, our friend Jesse just commented on our broadcast and said scurvy is a great example of that problem in human history. And that's exactly right. Scurvy, jaundice, a lot of other illnesses. But, Paul, you hit the nail on the head. The foods that can be distributed tend to be dry goods. So things like beans, rice, corn, anything that can be dried and put in a bag, and that can be loaded on trucks, and that can survive extremely difficult logistics challenges. both in distance and in the type of conveyances that are available and the types of infrastructure that those conveyances move along. So in other words, there's a lot of these areas. The roads are extremely poor. There's not a vehicle or a packaging system that will allow you to get some of this produce to these places. And to be extremely frank, and I know this is disappointing and hard to hear, but the primary reason that that is not happening is that there's no money in solving that problem. Without an incentive of profit to solve that problem, guess what? That's not really going to change anytime soon. So we're attacking it from a completely different model, which is from a distributed model of empowering individuals so that they can grow their own food, so that they achieve that nutritional adequacy within their own power, under their own ability, through their own self-interest. And that's a completely different model than the model that you and I consume food here in the United States, where we have interstate highways. Romaine lettuce picked in the Imperial Valley in California on a Tuesday morning can be all the way to Boston or Maine by Thursday evening or Monday morning. They round the clock drivers, team drivers, they get it, they load that in a refrigerated trailer, and literally that produce is there 2.5, 3 days later. That does not exist in these areas of Africa that suffer from extreme poverty, nor is there an economic incentive to build it.
That's extremely well said. I love that. Even if we were growing, a patch of lettuce 200 miles away from a tribe, that lettuce is never going to make it. Here, right, we can do that in 4 hours. There it takes too long and it costs too much in order to just transport those pallets of lettuces, those case of lettuce, from one place to another, even if it's only a couple of 100 miles away. So the only solution to this problem is to grow the food right next to the families, is to have the families grow their own food. Much like the Victory Garden concept of World War II, we enable families, we empower families to grow their own food so they can get the precious nutrients that they need to have nutrient adequacy that allows them to balance their diets, that allows their brains to function well, that eliminates or dramatically reduces the death of children in those areas, and really uplifts the entire society, the entire community.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I would like to express something that's really hard for us to grasp here in the U.S. So be patient with me, because not only is it hard to grasp, but it's hard to express it in a way that it sinks in. So, for example, in this report in Ghana, in rural areas, the cost of nutritional adequacy, the cost to get the food every day in order to reach the nutritional balance required by the body and mind in these rural areas is as high as $2.99. Now, these are also people that are earning less than $1.50, $1.25 a day. So it's literally impossible. It's impossible. If they are not producing their own food, it's literally impossible for them to acquire that nutrition. And that is simply a matter of the logistics and of the availability of the food. It's not something that is going to be solved with first world solutions. You can't just create a 10,000 acre farm. Like Paul said, that 10,000 acre farm could be 200 miles away, and guess what? Very few people, only people along the major routes are going to get what comes out of that 10,000 acres. There's still a huge base of population that would never see that food.
Amen. And had the conversation with a gentleman yesterday who's working on a project to develop some large scale commercial farms in Africa, and their target market, the people they want to sell the produce to, are large companies. You know, they're very large companies that distribute that produce other places in Africa, like the major cities, like taking it to Egypt and taking it to South Africa and taking it to the large metropolitan areas where they have millions of people and where they have a market and where the economy can support the cost of distribution. So I think that's a very good thing, by the way, because when you have a farm in these areas, a very large farm, you're employing people. And the people who are living close to that farm, within a few miles, within 5, 10, or 50 miles, are going to see their nutritional adequacy boosted quite a bit, because the food will survive, 25-mile trip or a 50-mile trip. But it's not going to help the rural areas, and it's not going to help the people that we really want to help with Ascending Harvest.
Right, that's correct. There's a hole in the system that hasn't been solved, and the reason it hasn't been solved is because the rest of the world is working from a paradigm and from a structure and from infrastructure and cost systems that have proliferated the current technology. This current technology, while it's amazing and it serves the rest of the world well, it does not serve these communities. There has to be a new technology, a new way, a new paradigm. And that's what we're bringing that ability for someone who's never grown their own food, that has no knowledge of how to grow food. We're giving them a simple, systematic, step-by-step approach, 3 simple steps, and they can grow their own food. Now that's empowering, and that allows them to increase their nutritional adequacy. And should they decide that this is a technology that resonates with them, they enjoy it and they're good at it, they can expand upon that, and they can become an economic and nutritional anchor in their community. That's how we solve this nutritional adequacy problem, is by empowering the local individuals who are suffering under this, who have the deepest understanding of what their circumstances are, and frankly, are the most motivated to solve it for themselves and their neighbors.
And we'd really like for each one of you to have a personal connection to this problem and this solution. So take just a minute. Take just a minute and imagine that you're living in a rural area and there's no trucks ever come by, that there's really no grocery stores, that there's very small farmers markets that are in the local village and in the larger areas that you rarely get to, and that you can't afford the food when you get there. That the only sustenance that you have is the dry goods that are supplied by charitable organizations, and you've been eating cornmeal mush and you've been grateful for it for literally years, perhaps all of your life. Maybe you've never even tasted a tomato or a carrot or something like that. That's all your body knows. You see your entire village being sick and weakened by the lack of nutritional adequacy, and there's nothing you can do about it. Then imagine that somebody comes in and says, I have a present for you. I have a gift for you. This gift is an Ascending Harvest human-powered hydroponic garden. Now you can grow your own tomatoes. Now you can grow your own other kinds of vegetables, your lemons, your melons, your peppers, your fruit of small kinds. And you have an opportunity to empower yourself, empower your family, have enough discretionary income to invest in education and learning. It can uplift you, your entire family, and your entire village. And that's the dream that we have. And that's why we want you to participate with us here in this community, so that you can give the joy of nutrition to people who have never had that joy before.
Yeah, I would also say, one of the things about farming in Africa is it's like the farming of old. Remember when there was the Great Dust Bowl, and so many people in America were hungry because farming was didn't have the technology or the infrastructure in place for irrigation. The entire crops, in fact, entire swaths of topsoil were lost in that drought period. The same thing happens in Africa today. They do not have the economic or the material infrastructure to do anything but rely on the weather. So when they have a drought or when they have too much rain, they can lose entire crops. So even in areas where farming is viable, it is still dependent upon the weather. Now, here's the beautiful thing about our technology. It's a self-contained system that the user controls the water. It's not dependent upon the rain. It's not dependent on too little or too much. They only have to have a supply of water. It doesn't even have to be clean water, just a supply of water, and they can grow their own food. So what surprised me as we started moving into talking to these communities in Africa, the farmers are very interested in it for this very reason, because they see the opportunity to be able to grow some of their crops in our garden systems and not be dependent on that weather. It's a buffer. It prevents those periods of time when they just haven't been able to salvage much from their traditional crops. So, and then the other thing is they have a growing season, but they can grow year round. But their growing season coincides with the dry season, the warm season, the rainy season. And if they had our technology, they could stagger it so that the harvest coming from our technology is off season, where that produce has the most value to them, not only for their own nutrition because they can't get it because the produce is out of season, but also economically. So it is a double benefit for them to have our systems and be able to stagger their timing because they can control the water and not depend on the weather, and have this benefit of having that produce off season. And again, the impact of having that when the other nutritional availability is missing, and when it has the highest economic impact. That is huge. That's a huge benefit that can change a person's life dramatically. And in fact, more dramatically than a lot of our information that we put out. We put out information that talks about the average cost of produce. But if somebody is strategically planning their growing and their harvesting, they can actually outperform the data that we've been putting out. The educational data we've been putting out is actually just based on averages and not on the optimal or ultimate.
That's awesome. Let's see if we can sum this up. You know, everybody needs nutritional variety. We need different things in our diet in order for our bodies to function well, in order for our immune systems to fight off disease, in order for us to be strong and healthy and happy and grow the way that God intended us to grow. In some areas of the world, they don't have access to the proper nutrition at all. And even charities who want to supply them, who want to give them the food that they need to grow and thrive, are not able to do it because the variety of food products that they need to balance out their nutrition will not survive the distribution chain, and it's not profitable. They can't buy them because it's not profitable for businesses to sell them, and they don't have the money to buy them themselves. The only solution to this problem is something like our human-powered hydroponic gardens that enable families to grow their own food, the food that they desperately need in order to grow and thrive and be healthy and happy. And one of the tremendous advantages of our system is that it could be a year-round system. It's not dependent upon the drought and the rainy season cycles that they have in their traditional farms that are even in country. Those are a whole bunch of really great reasons for you to jump in and support us here with Ascending Harvest and help us take these products to market, help us take these products to the families who need them the most.
Thank you, Paul. That was very well said.
May have to record that one, or rather clip the recording of that and see if we got that squared away. So one of the things that we like to do, I think that's a good summary. I think I'm going to come to a close here, and we're going to do what we love to do at the end of every one of these Zoomcasts, and that's give away one of our human-powered hydroponic gardens to somebody who has either signed up for our mailing list at ascendingharvest.com and or donated to our Indiegogo campaign, our crowdfunding campaign. So if you haven't done either one of those, please do so we can have your name and email address and put that into a prize drawing for your very own human-powered hydroponic garden system. The way we do that is Shane gives me a number between 1 and 10,000, and I plug it into my little spreadsheet here that contains all of those names and addresses, and email addresses rather, and we announce the winner. Shane, what's the number for today?
4443. 4443.
And the name, the winner, the person who has the number closest to 4403 is Brett Anderson. Congratulations, Brett. You're the winner of a human-powered hydroponic system. When we get these out of mass manufacturing, we're going to send you your very own system, or you can donate it to a family in need in your name at that time. So congratulations, Brett. And we'd love for you to have the chance. So please go to ascendingharvest.com and sign up for our email list. Better yet, click on that green button, go to our Indiegogo campaign, slip us $1, $5, $10, $20, $50, or $1,000, whatever you're called to do, so that we can get these products in the hands of the people who need them the most as quickly as possible.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in. We love that you're paying attention to our project and that it resonates with you. Please share it. Please help others come find this way that they can actually serve people around the world and lift the world up and make it a better place.
All right. Thanks, Shane. Until tomorrow, we will say goodbye. Have an awesome day. Contribute.
Yes.
Join us. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye now.